Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Our mission, as always, is pretty straightforward. We take some dense, sometimes, let's say, esoteric source material, and we try to pull out the core insights you need. Basically, the intellectual shortcut so you're up to speed.
And today we are really diving deep. The topic is consciousness, creation, physical existence itself. We're using a really specialized set of source documents.
Great.
These are, they're focus texts, sometimes called channeled material. They read like an inner dictation, detailing the basic mechanics of what the source calls the living world of phenomena.
And we're here to unpack a really radical idea presented in these texts.
Yeah, that's out there.
Which is that the physical external world you see, touch, interact with, it's not separate from you at all. It's presented as a living, cooperative creation that comes entirely from within your own mind, your own soul.
So our goal here is kind of extracting the blueprint from that.
Exactly. The how-to guide, if you will.
Right.
Understanding the physics, maybe, of how spirit becomes flesh, as the source puts it.
And I think it's important maybe to ground this a bit, the real-world context of these writings.
Good point.
These aren't just abstract ideas floated in a vacuum. The sources themselves actually mention the disruptions, the difficulties happening while they were being recorded.
Like what?
Well, the work was interrupted because the medium's mother passed away.
Oh, wow.
And then later, there was major local trauma, specifically this massive regional flooding caused by Tropical Storm Agnes back in 1972.
Huh. That really does ground it, doesn't it? It's not like these ideas were received in some peaceful ivory tower.
Exactly.
The recording itself happens amidst, profound personal grief
Yeah.
and a huge physical external catastrophe.
Precisely. And it kind of sets the stage for the material's core claim.
Okay.
That there's no real separation between your inner self and the outer event, even something as big and seemingly random as a natural disaster.
Okay, all right. Let's dive right into that then. Starting with maybe the main analogy the sources give.
Big place to start.
They claim the world you navigate every day. The solid stuff, the colors, the shapes. It's like a giant, multi-layered, three-dimensional painting.
Like a living artwork.
Exactly. And the critical part is every single person is participating in creating and constantly tweaking this artwork. The lines, the colors. They're drawn in the mind first.
Right, before they solidify, before they manifest outwardly.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that this creative ability, it's not just for us humans, not just for rational, conscious minds.
Okay.
The source material is really clear on this. It insists this is a natural, ongoing cooperation. It spans the whole spectrum of existence, meaning from the tiniest atomic structures, molecules, all the way up through insects, birds, and, us, human minds.
So cooperation isn't just, like, a nice idea or an ethical goal.
No, it's presented as a physical necessity.
A requirement for the world to even be here.
Yeah. All living things cooperate, and they're driven by something the source calls an inherent feeling tone. We'll get more into that later, I'm sure.
Okay.
But the upshot is, the physical world is the natural, spontaneous result of this collective consciousness working together.
Wow. Okay, so if that's true, if the world is alive and cooperative, does that mean the Earth itself has, like, a consciousness?
Yeah.
An identity?
According to these texts, absolutely, yes. Yeah. They talk about the concept that Earth has its own vast soul or mind. And just like your personal life events sort of stream from your personal soul, mountains, seas, valleys, rivers, they're described as flowing directly from the Earth's soul.
So they're like psychic manifestations.
That's the term used, yeah. Manifestations of the planet's own inner life.
Okay, if that's the case, then the big takeaway here seems to be that my individual inner world, my feelings, my memories, my unconscious stuff, it's not isolated. It's not just in my head.
Not a bubble.
It's intimately connected, like woven into this huge global inner world, the Earth's own inner landscape.
Yeah. Exactly. Which means the environment, the weather, the landscapes, they aren't just passive backdrops that we act upon.
Right. They're active participants.
Co-creators, responding to a collective planetary rhythm that we're also part of.
Okay. This is where we need to pivot a bit, I think, towards the individual, you, the listener, because this gets very personal very quickly.
It does.
If reality is this constantly co-created 3D painting, then the external world, it acts like this huge feedback system.
Right.
The sources claim you are constantly projecting your deepest thoughts, your feelings, your expectations, projecting them outward.
And then, and this is the crucial bit, You perceive those projections as if they are outer circumstances, things happening to you.
Right. Not from you.
Exactly. And if we connect this to how we see ourselves, our self-perception, the sources suggest a pretty radical shift in perspective here.
How so?
When you find yourself thinking the external world is, I don't know, observing you or acting upon you, whether it's an event or a situation or another person, the material suggests you're actually observing yourself.
Wait, observing myself.
Yeah, from the specific angle of your own projection. The world is like a mirror, but not a flat one. A dynamic 3D active mirror.
Hold on, I need to pause on that one. That's a huge claim.
It is.
Because most of us just assume our body, for example, is just, well, it's a given, right? It's genetics, biology, maybe some luck, good or bad.
Sure, that's the standard view.
But is the source material saying this projection mechanism applies even to our physical form, our bodies?
Yes, explicitly. The text makes the specific claim that physical characteristics, your health, your size, shape, even your susceptibility to certain conditions, they are not accidents, not random genetic lottery outcomes.
No, are they?
They're described as psychic manifestations, the direct result of the inner self choosing and projecting these very traits.
Okay, choosing sounds like conscious control, but obviously I can't just consciously decide, I want to be 2 inches taller tomorrow and make it happen.
Good point.
So how do the sources make that distinction between the conscious mind, my everyday ego, and this inner self?
That's a really crucial distinction they make. The inner self isn't your everyday thinking mind. It's the vast, multidimensional consciousness that exists sort of underneath or beyond the conscious ego. The analogy they use is that the inner self chose these characteristics, meaning your core personality, your history, your identity, all that is deeply inscribed in your unconscious memory.
Right.
And that data, that blueprint, is what gets faithfully translated or decoded into your physical reality, including your genetic factors, your chromosomes.
So it is choice, but it's often unconscious choice.
Yeah.
Made at a much deeper level.
Exactly. A choice made before the conscious you even arrives on the scene, so to speak.
So we arrive. We're born already carrying this blueprint, chosen by our deeper self, long before our conscious ego starts trying to figure things out.
That's the idea.
Okay, well, that leads us right into understanding the mechanics of that inner life then. Specifically, what's the relationship between the conscious ego that I experience every day and this bigger inner self?
Right. So the conscious ego, it's described as a highly specialized tool of the larger self.
A tool.
Yeah, think of it like the consciousness's focusing mechanism, like a lens or maybe the eye that the inner self uses exclusively to focus on and operate within physical reality.
So it's necessary for being here.
Absolutely necessary for survival and functioning in this specific environment.
And the sources use this powerful analogy for how it works, right? The ego grows out of the unconscious, like a seedbed.
Yeah, the unconscious seedbed of your reality. It grows out like a flower.
And it's constantly changing, dying and being reborn, even though we don't feel that way.
That's what they say. We have this illusion of continuity, feeling like the same me day after day.
Sure.
But structurally, chemically, energetically, your ego today is different from the one you had 5 years ago or even yesterday. It's in constant flux.
Huh. Okay. So the problem isn't the ego itself then?
No, not according to this material. The ego is necessary. It's the tool for this reality. The trouble comes, or can come, when the conscious mind lets that specialized tool, the ego, become too rigid.
Rigid how?
Like it starts acting like a gatekeeper. It gets stiff and flexible, and it blocks the immense flow of deeper knowledge, intuition, and creative power that's constantly streaming from the inner self.
Okay. That makes sense. Rigidity equals resistance. It blocks the flow.
Exactly.
Now, let's get right to the core of the creative process itself. What starts it? What initiates this constant projection we talked about? What drives the creation of the external world?
Okay, that brings us to the feeling tone.
The feeling tone, right. You mentioned that earlier. And this isn't just like a mood, right? Like feeling happy today, sad tomorrow.
No, it's much deeper than a temporary mood. The feeling tone is described as the profound underlying emotional attitude, maybe the core essence of your entire life experience.
Wow. Okay.
The source material compares it to like deep, continuous chord music playing constantly in the background of your existence.
Like an underlying soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly. And that music dictates the overall emotional color of everything that happens to you, everything you experience.
Okay, so how does someone listening, trying to get something practical out of this, how do you figure out what your own deep chord music is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, because it sounds like if my life is consistently, say, full of conflict or struggle, then my underlying feeling tone might be one of deep struggle, or maybe victimhood or anger, regardless of how much I try to think positively on the surface.
That is precisely the implication. It requires self-examination that goes way beyond just surface thoughts or affirmations. You have to feel into the deeper current.
And this tone, it's not just psychological. It has real power.
Real, measurable power.
Yeah.
The sources explicitly state that this feeling tone, along with your persistent thoughts and feelings, they possess a tangible electromagnetic reality.
Okay, electromagnetic reality. That sounds a bit jargony, like it's trying to sound scientific. What does that mean practically?
Well, think of it this way. Your emotions, your deep attitudes, they aren't just invisible internal fluff. They are powerful, energetic wave patterns.
It's like radio signals.
Exactly like radio signals, constantly broadcasting outward from you. And these signals, these broadcasts, they naturally attract and coalesce experiences, events, objects that match the frequency of that core tone.
So they literally have a power that attracts physical stuff, physical manifestation.
That's the claim. They draw reality to them.
Okay, that's a much clearer way to think about it.
Yeah.
So if my deep underlying feeling tone is, say, fear or scarcity,
Yeah.
then the electromagnetic reality of that fear is constantly broadcasting fear, scarcity, and the universe, or reality, basically responds by manifesting circumstances that justify that fear and scarcity.
You got it. And the source also says, if you try to resist this deep inner rhythmic transmission, if you fight against your own core feeling tone without changing it, it's like trying to swim upstream against a really powerful, relentless current.
You'll just get exhausted and go nowhere.
Right. You'll achieve very little despite huge effort, which perfectly explains, I think, why things like simple positive affirmations often don't work on their own.
How so?
Well, if the surface thought is, I am abundant, I am rich, but the underlying feeling tone, that powerful broadcast, is screaming, I am perpetually unworthy and struggling. The deeper, more powerful signal of struggle just wins out every time. It shapes the reality you perceive.
Okay. Wow. That connects a lot of dots.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears one last time, maybe, and look at how the mind organizes all these powerful, energetic creations.
Okay.
The sources give a really interesting structure for physical reality. They claim our thoughts and feelings condense, basically, into two main categories.
Right. They become either objects.
Which need the medium of space to exist in.
Correct. Or they become events.
Which need the medium of time to unfold in.
Exactly. Objects need space, events need time.
But in this model, space and time aren't fixed, objective things out there, are they?
No, not at all. They're described as root assumptions.
Root assumptions.
Yeah, fundamental agreements that human consciousness collectively accepts and operates within. We need these assumptions, apparently, to translate our powerful, fluid, inner feelings into something stable enough to perceive.
So into observable permanence.
Which are objects in space.
And into measurable sequences.
Which are events in time.
That's a massive perspective shift.
Yeah.
Space and time are tools consciousness uses, not containers it exists within.
Pretty much.
Yeah, sources give a great example to make this clearer, contrasting how long something lasts in space versus time.
Oh, yeah, the doll example. It's a good one.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so imagine a child has a favorite doll. It gets broken, thrown away. Physically in space, that object is gone, vanished.
Right.
But if the emotional intensity, the memory, the sense of loss surrounding that doll remains really strong in the child's mind, then that incident, the breaking of the doll, it continues to exist as a highly intense, maybe even pivotal time event in the child's inner reality.
So its emotional and creative reality hasn't ended just because the physical object disappeared.
Exactly. It lives on powerfully in the medium of time, within the child's consciousness, even though it's gone from the medium of space.
That really illustrates how powerful the mind's organizing principles are. Space and time are how we structure our inner creations outwardly.
Well put.
And this idea seems to broaden out naturally into the concept of collective consciousness, right? Which seems key to understanding the full picture here.
Absolutely, that's crucial. The sources really stress that everything, and they mean everything, from a simple blade of grass to a rock, possesses some form of consciousness.
Even a rock.
Even a rock. And they all share in a unified structure or pattern, which the source calls Gestalt consciousness.
Okay, what's a Gestalt in this context?
Think of it like a unified blueprint or a shared network identity, an indivisible structure where the whole is more than the sum of its parts. Everything is connected within these larger consciousness structures.
So applying that to us,
Yeah.
we aren't just isolated individuals walking around.
Not fundamentally, no. Humans, similarly, possess a complete or collective consciousness in addition to our private individual awareness.
But part of a larger gestalt.
Yes. Part of the identity of the world itself, the Earth's soul we talked about earlier, even though our conscious ego focused on daily survival usually filters out this connection, we're mostly unaware of it.
So our only real limit, then, is the one we accept by choosing to focus entirely within the rules of the game, the physical laws and assumptions.
Rules which, according to this, we collectively set up in the first place.
Right. Okay. So wrapping this all up,
Yeah.
what does this entire deep dive mean for you, the listener, the learner?
Well.
The core truth, stripping it all down, according to this highly detailed, specific source material. It seems to be that your physical world, your experience, it's entirely self-created, generated from within.
You possess complete freedom, fundamentally, to create your experience. The only limits are the ones imposed by the basic framework of physical reality that you and everyone else agreed to operate within when you decided to participate here.
And bringing it right back to where we started,
Yeah.
the sheer implication of this is maybe the biggest takeaway. Remember we mentioned the tropical storm Agnes flood?
Yeah, the disaster that happened while the material was being recorded.
Right. The sources explicitly state that the medium's personal experience of that flood, which devastated their community. That experience would later be used as a specific example in the book when discussing the creation of natural disasters.
Wait, the creation of natural disasters.
That's the term used.
That's mind-boggling because we automatically categorize a massive regional flood as random, external, chance, something that happens to us, independent of us.
Of course. That's the default assumption. But if this channel text insists that even something that huge, that seemingly external and devastatingly natural, if even that is tied back into the self, into the collective creation framework, that it holds some kind of purpose or meaning within the deeper collective unexamined consciousness,
then it really forces a profound, maybe uncomfortable, vital question for you to consider.
which is,
If consciousness potentially plays a role in generating something as vast as a regional catastrophe, what does that imply about the power and maybe the responsibility inherent in your most mundane, everyday choices?
yeah,
And what does it imply about the immense, largely unexamined creative power simmering within your own deep underlying feeling tone? That's something worth really mulling over.
that feeling tone, it really does seem to be the engine of your reality, according to these sources.
It's presented as the primary creative force.
So understanding it, becoming aware of it, and learning how to consciously shift it, that feels like the ultimate action item this material offers.
Yeah.
We definitely encourage you to observe that deep, underlying emotional rhythm within yourself. See what you find.
Yeah. Good place to start.
Until next time, on The Deep Dive.